And then we'll just wait for a few seconds. And all right, everybody. Hey, guess what? It is Disclaimers by Ed Johnston, Saturday, March 21st, 2020. And I know quite a few people are worried about this coronavirus thing. And you know what? You just got to keep your hands clean and try to keep a safe distance from each other. But also, there's been theories that the coronavirus is also linked to 5G. Ed, why don't you take it away?
No, that's true. They are talking about that related to 5G, so that way they can see how the body reacts, especially if you had implants or stuff like that. They have been bringing that out, and I've been watching some of that, dealing with the implants and stuff, and I've just started breaking into that because, I've had heart surgery and implants into my body. And so, I'm going through doing some research that somebody sent me that I didn't want to get into until I got more knowledge, but because I'm speaking totally blindly in the wind right now. But some of that is supposed to be related to population control. This goes back to Bill Gates, and if you actually do the research, you'll find out Bill Gates owns the patent for the coronavirus, besides a lot of other things. And now this goes back when I was telling people years ago, and that's why I always keep saying, collect rainwater, grow food. Collect rainwater, grow food. And everybody keeps going, why do you say that, Ed?
Ed.
Well, go ahead.
I also want to, I heard it, but then my wife actually proved it to me. I've got a container right here that is the Clorox wipes. They have one of the main ingredients in the Clorox wipes is coronavirus.
And Clorox is supposed to kill the virus, isn't it? See, that's what we're told medically. See, this is the one thing. You got to read the labels on your medication, your food and stuff. You don't know what you're eating. That is the saddest part of what's going on today. That's why I always preach to people, teach your kids how to hunt and fish. I know how to go skin a deer. I know how to shoot an elk. I know how to get a fish. I know how to slay them. But most people don't know how to do that. And a lot of people are going to find out to be a necessary thing coming up because the grocery stores are not prepared to reopen. I was fortunate. I got some food delivered from my local grocery store because it was better for me to go have it delivered than having a disabled man in around people because of my age and the medical stuff I have. So that's the one thing that you got to figure this out with food and stuff. And it's nice, and I got to go check some fishermen I know, see if I get some fish out of their stockpile. So you got to look at this, and canned vegetables. I was trying to get some of this stuff set up before this happened, and it's pretty hard when you have people around you who are not listening, who don't believe in what you're saying, and then when the shit hits the fan, now they're going, hello, well, we wish we would have listened. And I'm like, fuck, if everybody would have listened to me 3 years ago, we would have had 8 months food supply for 40 people, no problem. Maybe 60, but people can't look to the future. They're blinded by the light. That's the whole point. People cannot see down the road. They're scared to see the road. And that's the majority of the general public right now today. They're scared to see the road. So when you get the police department shutting down primarily, the only thing they're out on calls, so that means their calls is to write you tickets and arrest you. Okay, that's the problem. Right now in the state of California, they're writing tickets for people that are not more than 6 feet apart from each other. They're actually arresting people walking down the street, being in public. They're actually issuing tickets to people walking down the street. And this is the one thing you got to realize, man. They're making a buck on this stuff. They don't care about you. And once you start realizing this, and this is the one thing I put up dealing with the circumstances, everybody keeps going, oh, Lord, oh, Lord. And it's like, yeah, he's answering your dreams. Don't you know what a lord is? Haven't you ever done the research of a lord? I'm going to give you an idea what a lord is. Let me pull this up. Because everybody's been harping on me about religion, okay? And I mean, people know my feelings on religion. I don't deny it, and because it's the way I've been through things. I've been through some things that there are things that people say that's a miracle you lived through it, Ed. And I'm going, yeah, it really was a miracle I lived through it. And then people say, well, God's looking out for you, and I'm like, okay, who's God? What God? Why is there a God? Because it's just not the fate of the numbers right now. It's not my time. I mean, I've been through that. I'm still having severe medical issues. With breathing and heart issues. And so, besides the chronic pain, and, this is one thing that pisses me off, how they want to deal with chronic pain medically today, is they want to give you blood medication and blood pressure medication, so that way you don't go into stroke and heart failure, or you don't go and have a heart attack because they want you to suffer in pain. Now, every week when I go into the doctors, they keep asking me my pain levels. And they don't give me pain medication. Okay, but this is what they're doing. And people say, oh, Ed, you're crazy on this. I was like, no, you guys got to come to reality of what goes on in the real world. Because it's like, this goes back to the structure of the medical field. We're guinea pigs. A lot of us, you don't realize that you are a guinea pig to the medical society. There was doctors and medical people that believe that we should be pain and suffering like Jesus suffered in pain. And it's real, folks. This is real. People go, oh, no, it ain't real. And it's like, you guys don't step out in the hallways and listen to these conversations with these public employees. Remember, doctors, nurses, anybody in the medical field is not a private contractor. They are national public employee. They are a government agent of the agency. They get paid by federal money. Anybody in the medical field. So anyhow, a lord is a polish and for a person. So, in other words, a lord is a person, a legal person. See, this is the British terminology of lord in England. And lord of the United Kingdom is entitled to courtesy titles. So, if you are dressed as a lord in England, you have different criteria and different primary privileges that you have, because you're not a peasant. And this exists right now today in your Bible and your public employees. This is the way they are operating. This is the way they think. I grew up around this stuff. I watched it. I learned it. I never could sell my soul to the company store. Thank God for that one, or mainly the Creator. Because I have to say thank God, too, because God is the devil, as far as I'm concerned, but it's written in the Bible. And it even says God is the devil in the Bible. And I argue with people. And then I show them the passage, and they go, that's not what it means. That's why a lord, a lord is a British servant to the king. That's the meaning. It's a noun. It's a meaning of lord. It's an English lord noun. A male peer, informal. A man who has a lot of power in political areas and activities. That's what your lord does, and you have lords right now in your politics, the same difference. Several alleged drug lords are to be put on trial, but you got to remember, some of these drug lords never even get to court because it depends on their position in the system. Who they know. A medieval knight took an oath of allegiance, of loyalty to their lord. So if you don't know real history, this is where people don't get it. That's why people say, Ed, why don't you believe this? I'm going, well, I just step out of the movie and I watch this stuff, and it's like, a medieval knight takes I've been a bodyguard. Yeah, all right. So I took an oath to protect somebody's life with my life. Same difference. Lord of the British Isle, a general. title for a prince or sovereign. And this is one point. This is the English legal terminology in the Bible as well as in the legal structure of your all your legal titles and encyclopedias. The Lord is the British Isle. General title for a prince or sovereign. And everybody keeps saying, I'm sovereign, I'm sovereign. You don't even know. I'm a native. I have rights. I don't have servant fees. I don't have privileges. I'm not a person. I'm a living man. Big difference. That's why I filed for my rights. When I'm in the hospital, they had to check with me everything they did with me. They had to verify it. Then we had to get a medical rundown on it, what it was going to do to my body, and then I had to get authorization if I wanted it. And it was like, well, if you go through a heart attack or a flatline, do we zap you or we let you go? And I said, no, you zap me, you save me because that's your job. But I'm not relinquishing you from your employment status. I want you to do your job. And they're like, okay, Ed. And then they'll come in and say, oh, Ed, we need you to sign this piece of paper. And I said, I ain't signing nothing. I'm under duress. And then they come back in and they say, well, we need to register you in the hospital. I said, they can't do that. I'm under duress. You wouldn't want me to commit a federal crime, would you? So, you got to know how this really works compared to fantasy and religion you might want to believe in. So, there's a couple of things they wanted to do to me, and I refused in the hospital, and I believe I did right because I'm still alive. So, that's the whole point, is that's one of the reasons why I still believe I'm alive right now, is because standing up to this craziness. Because if I wasn't standing up to this craziness and what's going on with the hospitals and what's going on with people, you got to realize that this stuff really does happen. They do this crazy shit to you to own you. And if you don't realize, if you haven't done the research like I've done with people, trying to get people to register to own themselves, to file to own themselves. You see, people say, well, why would I want to register? Oh, Ed, you're registering to own you. You have to claim you. If you don't claim yourself, you don't own you. The state does. And this is why when I go into these things, and everybody keeps going, well, you would have better service or this, that, and the other thing if you wouldn't tell these people to take a flying freak. And I'm like, no, I'm doing their job because their job is to do this, that, and the other thing, and I want them to do their job. I'm not here being kind and kiss ass because they get paid to do a job. And people say, well, that's the way you get treated sometimes, the way you get treated. Well, if that's the way and it comes around, then, karma's going to get that employee at times because they don't do the job and it gets known. So you got to remember, some of these people do have honor in their positions. Some people really do have honor and respect. But most people don't get this point of reality. Unless you've been through this point of reality and the circumstances, I grew up in a different way of thinking and a different way of life. I grew up, around the government, around law enforcement. I was a rent-a-cop. And that's the one thing that people don't comprehend what a rent-a-cop is. It's a policy officer. I was no different than your police officer that's in the street. The same guy that's at the street corner with you. I'm sitting there telling you the same thing what a cop tells you. Now, and that's what they are. I worked in the bar industry, in the movie industry. I worked in a lot of different industries. I know what a rent-a-cop is. And a rent-a-cop is the same thing as a police officer for city because he's a policy officer to enforce the policy of the city. And so it's like the city tries to tell me that, oh, you need to clean your property. You need to do this. You don't tell me what to do. Has somebody been harmed on my property? No, because they have no rights coming on my property. And then that's the one thing is that they're putting out this, do you want to suspend constitutional rights during the coronavirus emergency? Well, see, they can do that to you, but they can't do it to me. My rights are filed. Attorney has to represent a corporation. So if they're saying I'm a corporation by my birth certificate, I own myself. The state don't own me, so I'm not a citizen. See, and that's the one thing. I'm not out there claiming to be a citizen or a national. When you claim to be a citizen or national by state and federal law, you relinquish your rights 100%. You know, especially a national. You know, that's the Enemy Trading with the Enemy Act. And if you never read it, people say, oh, it doesn't mean that. And I'm trying to explain to people, you got to read this stuff. Quit listening to all these people that are filing this paperwork. I mean, I'm in the hospital. I'm not having issues. You know, when it comes down to it, they want to play this, that, or the other game. I tell them, You know, and it's like, and then, you know, they had to come back in and going, well, every time we do any administrative or anything, we got to get a signature from Johnston, or, you know, we don't deal with it. Because they wanted the one main thing, oh, we want to give you a flu shot. I said, you give me a flu shot, I'll break your face. Exactly what I told them, because, you know, you're threatening my life with a flu shot. I've never had a flu shot. I've never had those shots a day in my life. You know, back in the early 70s and late 60s, everybody got the measles and mumps shots and all that shit when we were in school. You know, with 18 or 16 needles, and you got zapped with a little gun that, you know, full of all these chemicals. You know, we have no idea what the hell they were filled with back then. Our parents didn't know, because doctors told them, we need to do this. And so they go, okay, we follow the leader. So, and after that, when I started doing that after I was 12 years old, I wouldn't fall into this. So, and this is the one thing I'm trying to get people to comprehend. For a crime to exist, there must be an injured party. A corpus delicti. That means a corpus delicti means a living man, woman, or child, not a fiction. When you say you're Mr., you're taking a title and nobility of the British government, so you're saying you have no rights being called Mr. or Sir or servant. And that's what you are, servant. Okay, hey, sir, servant. I'm not a sir. I don't servant anybody. So, and that goes into, you know, can't be not a sexual penalty imposed on one because of constitutional right. This is Sheree, S-H-E-R-E-R, versus Cullen, C-U-L-L-E-N, 4818-F9194. So this is one thing, when you read these things and you file your rules and your motions, I never file a motion. I insert my rights. So people say, I file a motion. I put in there, you know, this is my demand. This is my right. I'm asserting my rights. I expect you to honor your oath of servitude. You know, if you want to go in and have your case dismissed, you know, you file the criminal paperwork on a judge. You know, that's one thing. When, you know, you file your paperwork, the judge doesn't respond to you and he's just ignoring you. Then you start filing criminal charges on the judge. You file it in Washington, D.C., violation of his oath of office. Title 5, 3112. 3113. And you want to file on his oath of office. See, this is the one thing you got to do this, you know. And then they try to say, well, they suspended it. They can't suspend it because if they suspend it, that means martial law doesn't exist and we're for a free-for-all. And this is the deal. When officers issue false police reports, personal injury, Penal Code 132. When an officer falsifies evidence, Penal Code. Damn, I hate it when my computer, I got to come back and find it. I had the line, and then my computer didn't want me to read it, apparently. So let me find it here again. So that's interesting. I'll find it here in a minute, but I want to get into a few other things on this. And the other thing is warn the District of Columbia 444A.2D1 DCCT of Appellate Court in 1981. Okay, what that means is the police department has no jurisdiction over you. Police departments work for a private corporation. So when they talk to you and they want to write you a ticket and stuff like that, that's where you need to know your rights. And you need to ask them for a copy of their police handbook. They're going to go, well, that can't do that. Well, it's like they will tell you it's the law. A police agency will lie to you, and they'll tell you a municipality, corporation, remember, you got to remember, they print their own license plates. They print their own paperwork. So with this epidemic that they're creating and claiming, and, like I said, I put this video out 10 years ago that this was going to happen. And, people didn't think it was going to come to light. And you try to argue with people, and you know what it's like trying to argue with religious people. They don't want to hear it. And then when they say have fan, I'm going to go pray. So I'm going to go pray that somebody's going to deliver food for me. I can't go hunt and fish. I'm a poor little individual. I need somebody to take care of me. And that's the point that we don't want to, impose that on the children, because we get the children that are thinking that today, and look at the way the kids are acting today. Because of an artificial identities cannot take an oath. They cannot make affidavits. So by law, a police officer, a public employee cannot make an affidavit because they're artificial identities. Okay, remember, they got a title of nobility. The only ones that can make an affidavit is a living man or woman. The injured party, preferably, or, somebody that's close to the injured party. A living man or woman could make an affidavit of criminal charges, and you want to make sure that you include criminal charges in it. If you had your car kidnapped and stolen, held for ransom, like your kids, they get kidnapped and held for ransom in the state. You write kidnapped, and then you go to the state and you look at what the law is of kidnapping and held for ransom, and you quote their own administrative rules back to them. And that is the one thing so you comprehend. Now, this is the one thing that they always get to everybody going, oh, you need a lawyer. Well, it's clearly established that a lawyer or an attorney must represent a corporation. So if you never filed to own yourself, you're a corporation of the state, because when Mommy registered you with the Department of Justice and said that I'm not a responsible mommy, so I'm giving my child over the state so the state can come in and take my kid without a warrant. And then everybody gets upset. They took my kid. Well, you gave them rights to take your kid without a warrant. I was glad to see the Ninth Circuit Court came up in 2017 and 2018 that said they finally had to have a warrant before they could take your kid. But the only way that a warrant is good if you own your child. The Supreme Court stated it in 2017 and 2018, the Ninth Circuit Court, that you had to own your property. So if people say, oh, Ed, you don't need to talk this way, and it's like, yes, I do. If you don't get it, you don't own your property. You have no rights to your children. And then when your kids are stolen, I talk to people all the time. And then it's like, I've had a conversation with many people. Well, we got to go this route. That's just too hard. I'm just too stupid. I can't get it. I send them videos that, walk them through it. But they don't give a shit because they got to go watch some TV show. Some TV show on the TV is more important than their damn thing, or the news channel, Fox News, is more important for them to do the research. So you got to turn off these mainstream goddamn TVs because, what are they doing for you? Nothing. You got to go learn these laws. And you have to learn your treaties and Constitution, and you have to learn that your statute codes and administrative rules work for your public employees. All government officials and agencies include state legislators. All right, this is when they keep going out, oh, we need to divide the states. We need to divide the states. And that's what that shows me how moronic these people don't comprehend the Constitution and Indian treaties, what they mean. They want to divide this country up, destroy this country, and morons are out there jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, I don't have my rights. Well, fuck, you don't even know your rights, you dumbass. All legislators are bounded by the Constitution and must not create any de facto laws which counter the Constitution. This is a Supreme Court decision, 1985. So when it comes down to it, they can create administrative rules for the dead entities, the corporation members, them employees. That's what they do. That's what they're supposed to do. But this is the one thing that gets to me. See, the government immunity was held unconstitutional, and you got these guys out there saying, these people got immunity. They don't have immunity. When are you going to stop listening to bullshit? And I've talked to people going, well, the cop said he has immunity, and I've ended up arguing with people, and it really pisses me off. Sometimes I hung up on these people, too. Because the cop says this, the CPS says this, and I said, all right, well, let's talk about this. Oh, no, they said I can't talk about that, or, I have to go this route. And I said, so you're safe. You have no rights. You don't give a shit about your child. You lie to your child then. Because if you liked your child or loved your child, you would get off your ass and do the research and quit listening to these people, what they tell you to get them guarantee their job, how they can rape your children or rape your children and rob money from you. We're definitely going through that today. Now, we got this epidemic that's going on. They already been giving you the flu shots for the last 10 years doing this shit, building this shit up. I mean, it's been written in a couple of movie structures, and I can't remember the one TV series that came out with it 2 years ago. The whole TV series for 2 years, and I walked through exactly what we're going to be living through for the next 5 years. But everybody thought it was, it's TV, it can't be real. They already did it ahead of time. They showed you what they're going to do to you, and you don't get it. So whereas penal code, and please read these things and print them and save them. Penal code 26350, open carrying a firearm. Where are the penalties for PC 258050, and that is carrying a loaded firearm in public? All right? See, so long as that you're not out causing a ruckus, and, they can write you a ticket, oh, you have a loaded gun. Well, they can't really write you a ticket saying you have a loaded gun. I've been through that myself because I've been notoriously known for packing over, 40 years. And as they say, and I've been through that, you can't have a gun, you can't do this. I said, who's the injured party? Where's the criminal cases? I have no criminal cases. That's the point. So when they try to run me, I have nothing. Over the years in this county, they put some interesting things over the years in this county on me. But, they know better. They've tried to put me in jail, tried to put me in federal prison. It didn't work. Came up with all these charges, and it pisses me off. The mayor and the city council and the governor and all these people who do this shit are still in office, and people believe this crap of these idiots. So I've been through this malicious prosecution myself. Of course, I've had the cases thrown out of court. They tried to put me in jail for 2 years, and that failed. They had to dismiss the case because, oh, that's right, I told the judge to fuck off. So they tried to give me 2 years in jail for telling the judge to fuck off. It's on YouTube video. They tried to assassinate me for telling the cop to screw off because he didn't have a right to serve an unlawful warrant, Oh, I got a warrant for so-and-so, so what does he do? He bends over, puts the warrant on the ground, and they drive off. Of course, me and my smart-ass mouth says I got to put this video on YouTube video instead of setting my mouth up and just let them drive and then put it up. But no, I had to do that, so they kidnapped me and assaulted me and all the other shit. So I've been through that, and they tried to kill me in jail a couple of times. No charges. I have absolutely no criminal record. I've never been charged with any crime. The only crime I did was my mouth, my big mouth, but I do that all the time. So false arrest, and this is one thing that you got to file on the officer. See, everybody keeps going, oh, I got to file on the police department. And it's like, no. Let me explain how the legal system works. You file on the officer for assault to battery, the criminal charges on the officer. And you can take it to small claims court. Trust me. And people say, well, they can always turn that. Well, they can always try to overturn anything, but when it goes into court, you got to bring the evidence. That's why when you go to court, you got to put the evidence in the first time you go to court. You know, the circumstances, what happened, bring the law in with you on your side. So on a false arrest, kidnapping, help from ransom without a warrant, because, see, technically they cannot arrest you unless they have a warrant that is signed by a grand jury by law. Read the law. See, and that is the one thing when a police officer puts in false evidence. This is Penal Code 132. An officer putting in false evidence. So if there's no crime, no injured party, and he said this, and the guy cussed at me and did that, it's not a crime. Cussing and swearing is the freedom of your rights. So when they kidnap you and held you for a ransom, you know, Penal Code 209.5, kidnapping. And you can use these penal codes too, and also too, if you do, go through your state and find your state ones on it. False imprisonment. Don't forget psychological trauma, terrorizing, paranoia, human trafficking, assault, kidnapping, strip search under Penal Code 243.4. Strip search is a rape. Okay? No, if you didn't harm anybody, you didn't convince anybody, you didn't shoot anybody, you didn't steal anything from anybody. All right? They can't do this unless you've committed a crime. Now, animal abuse penal code, this is 601. That's questionable. Because you got PETA and all these things that are trying to say if you shoot an animal for food, that's a crime. That's animal abuse. See, people get so strung out on this stuff, and it's like, read these penal codes and read how the arguments work. Now, the one thing is I have filed myself Penal Code 530.5, identity theft. Now, I was forced in that, you know, giving my identity, driver's license, and all that shit. Well, I started filing everything identity theft. Because they stole my identity. I claimed my name. Everybody goes, don't claim your name. No, they gave me a name. I claimed it. I claimed the birth certificate. I claimed it as my property. I put it in the newspaper, my property. I own me. You know, they gave me the title of nobility. I could own the title of nobility that they gave me. I can own it. That means I'm not a servant, sir. When people say, hey, sir, it really gets me going because that tells me I'm a servant, and I don't like the word sir because I don't servant anybody. I'm not a servant to anybody unless I choose to be. And let's get into civil liability. Police misconduct can be sued in state torts like assault and battery and emotional duress. That's why you claim under duress. You know, every time they come in the hospital, want to do this, that, and the other thing, I'm under duress. Then when I was in the hospital and I got to finish this letter and I got to send it to the hospital, I'm so pissed off because they went through my stuff and took my knife out of my bags. I never leave home without something. And, you know, they go through my shit. Well, that's a federal crime because by even HEPA reports and HEPA law and by state law, so long as I didn't commit a crime or I'm not a felon, convicted felon, I'm allowed to possess arms and weapons in any building or any public places I want. You know, and so I'm arguing with them about the laws, and it's like, okay, well, you know, you went through my shit, so I'm getting ready. I got to file on that. You know, and I've done this before, and I won. I'll win again. But, you know, it just pisses people off. You shouldn't have done that. You know, I got people saying, you shouldn't have walked in and had a knife in your deal. Well, I didn't know I had my knife in my medicine bag, one of my medicine bags, but shit. You know, you talk to me as an adult. You don't treat me like a criminal. Because you're going to treat me like a criminal, I'm going to treat you the same way. No compassion, no feeling, no emotion. Same way. And that's the problem that we don't do today, because if most people did that, we wouldn't have half the problems we got. You know, and that is the one thing that, you know, if you realize what the police department on most charges, are ridiculous against a cop because, oh, I swear on him and I did this. And, it's like, no, you can't be rude and disrespectful to these public servants. And I will tell you from personal experience, you talk to them rationally and responsibly, they don't screw with you. 90% of the time, 95% of the time, they won't screw with you. You always get that one idiot, two idiots, I always got to push their deal. So that's the one thing is I am not a United States citizen. When I ask you, are you a citizen? When you get pulled over, harassed through this structure, I am not a resident. I am not an inhabitant. I am not a franchise or subject award of the property of the court. I don't justify or claim any monarch titles. Corporation of Commonwealth, federal, state, territory, county, city council, city, municipal body, politics. I'm not claiming to be part of that. I am running for Lincoln County Commissioner, and I got to finish those things and get those in the mail and the press release this week, because I've already got inquiries for the press release for this last week. I haven't done because I've been wrapped up with this, helping some people get set up on this virus shit. But, I got to get the campaign out. But it's like the state came after me and said, well, Ed, you have to be a registered voter. And I said, wait a minute. I don't think I had to be a queen slave unless I won the election, it says. And then I got to find that on my answering machine. I got to put that up, save it, and tape it. I said that 2 weeks ago, but I got to really do it. Because I want you to hear this stuff, because they call me back and says, well, Ed, you need to register. And then they call me back and says, well, Ed, yeah, you're right. You don't need to register unless you win. You're not a state citizen unless you are that way. And I said, yeah, I know. So that's the point of knowing these things, how to handle these things. People call me crazy or nuts because I talk the way I do. I bring these facts out and just go along. Well, I'm sorry, I don't believe in your religion. I will not go along with your slavery. So, and that's the one thing. Either you have rights or you don't have rights. And remember, illegals and immigrants have no rights, period. They're pushing out these things, and all these immigrants have rights, and they don't. And you can file on these immigrants and have them shipped home. You can do that so long as you're a lawful bloodline native. But you have to prove whatever they have harmed, and they can get them shipped out of this country by law. So that's the one thing you got to do, that, you are not property award of the court. So I am not a citizen. I am not a corporation slave. If you say you're a resident, I'm a Commonwealth, I'm in the state. Remember, a state is small state. Remember, after the 14th Amendment, when the Capitol sued for the Constitution, went to the small c, and they reworded everything to keep everybody in slavery. And then they say, well, they can't do slavery. Well, they did by changing the letter titles to keep you a slave, and nobody caught it. Yeah, I caught it. That's what I tell everybody. The 14th Amendment is a fraud. Here's how to define it. The small c, the capital C, and you got to define it. When you write your instruments, you have to define the words. Because you got to remember, these people went to school for this stuff to be trained to read this. So, and that's the one thing that is the proclamation of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The bill he put in was Executive Order 2040. And it's called the Banking Holiday Bill. Okay, and that was when the British government went bankrupt to the people, the native people of this country. So there's no national debt. The British went bankrupt to this country. And once you start comprehend how this stuff really works compared to the way we've been so twisted. See, when you want to be out there and have all these rights, I want to have my rights. So, I'm not out there trying to make $1 million. I'm not playing this stuff. I want to go hunting and fishing. I want to have life. I don't want to be slave where I'm fighting in the streets for a piece of paper. And see, that's the one thing that people are doing right now. And they're going to be doing a lot more fighting in the streets coming up. So, and that's the one thing, when you start realizing what the words are in the districts and this stuff, it's like, if you want to go into a court system, you have to file for a grand jury court system, an Article 3 court, and you have to file to know if the judge has an Article 3 oath of office, Article 3 bond. You know, same with the clerk, that is your responsibility. So when your birth certificate is given to you for your child, and you decide to register it with the state, now the state attorneys pick up and assume ownership of the new vessel. And actually, you can type in state new vessels on the internet, and you start seeing what I'm talking about. It comes up. And so then the state becomes the parent. So that means the state, the Bar Association, the lawyers from England. The bar is not American. The bar was 1878, August 21, 1878 was the British government called American Bar Association. So there's two twisting words with American. One is native and the other one is what the British did to throw off people. And I've done the research on both sides of this yet, and when you start realizing it's very interesting. And then when you start looking at the structures, like, you know, Obama was born in Hawaii. And nobody paid attention to that when Hawaii flies the Union Jack flag from England. Still owned by the Queen of England. British Empire, historical relations, type it in, of Hawaii Kingdom, of the Queen of England. Yeah. See, I've already done all this research myself. I wrote all this stuff for Judge Scalia way back before Judge Scalia was murdered. So, in the Bar Association, right, the American Bar Association, like I said, founded August 21, 1878, is a voluntary bar association of lawyers, plus it's a bar card. You have to get a registration to be a lawyer, and that's the one thing. I don't want to join the British government. See, the British government has no authority in this country unless you give it authority, and that's with the Civil War. That's what the Civil War was all about. We fought the British government again. So just remember, the bar is England's own British accreditation of the King and Queen of England. That's never going to change, folks. So we're going through this paranoia, and you're getting arrested, or you're going to be harassed. You know, you be polite and just tell them, hey, I know my rights. And you don't say, I know my rights. You tell them what the words are, your rights are. You say, I'm not here to cause any problems, man. I just want to go the same way you do. I want to go the opposite way. I don't want nothing to do with you. And I've done that conversation with many police officers or peace officers, whatever you want to call them. I call them contractors because that's what we all are. You know, so when you're a contractor, you know, you're bringing out the structures so that way you know the truth. Any rent-a-cop, anybody that's a city police officer, anybody who's a security guard, anybody who does private security, you're contracted cops. That's what it is. Look at the contracted cop law. It doesn't say police. The police didn't come into that structure technically until the 1980s, and from the original writings that I used to read back in the 70s and early 80s, that I used to get a hold of the old writings from people around me, and then I started seeing how they changed it, and I see how they're doing it. So, and that's the one thing, too, is that you got to remember all elected and public employees, and you make sure that your police officer, your judge, your lawyer, your attorney, you ask them, are you a foreign agent registered active 1938? You know, it's your job to make sure these people know that under 22 U.S.C. 286 263A, that they have to be registered. If they're not, it's a felony. As the law states, 1 year minimum, maximum minimum in prison. 1 year. That's it. But then they lose their bond license, they lose their job. But see, the Democrats have been so fighting against this stuff because the Democrats are still working for the Queen of England. And as soon as you stop arguing on this bullshit that people are arguing about, because if you're a Democrat, you're not an American. You believe in the Queen of England. You know, even if you're a Republican, you know, what do you believe in? You know, if you believe in capitalism, so let's rape the children, destroy the trees, tear up the land, so that way we can't eat tomorrow. We got to put concrete on it, so there's no food to grow. See, it's either side. They got us on either side of this stuff, and so stepping out of the movie and watching the real production of how we're going to sit there, go through this stuff, and raise our children and teach them how to collect rainwater and grow food. Because it's going to get worse, too, coming down the road. We'll get a piece where it'll come up and settle for another 10 years, 15 years, and then we'll have another disaster. They got this stuff already set up to start happening every 20 years. Yeah, you know, because they've got to do population control. They got to see how many people are going to commit suicide over this thing. You know, they're not telling you the whole truth, but they've already got people that have committed suicide over this coronavirus. Because people, oh shit, I might as well take my life instead of knowing what's going to happen in the future. But they're not going to give you statistically those numbers. They won't give it to you because if people knew that, the paranoia structure, you know. So it's knowing who you're around, you know, it depends on what the structure is and if you got the flu shot or not. Because they do that. That's like the same thing with the 5Gs deal, 5 generations. You know, we used to have 1G, now we got 2G, now we got 3G, now we got 4G, now we got 5G, 5 generations. Now, once you hit the 7Gs, believe me, they monitor you. They will have a chip in your body, and they'll monitor you everywhere you go when it hits 7Gs. So when it hits 7Gs, you are their controlled idiot. But see, you have to file to own your body, to own your child. You have to claim that bloodline. You have to claim that DNA if you don't claim it. You know, because the court can only take you to court to steal your bloodline if it is not owned. People say, well, they stole my kid and they adopted my kid out. Well, you never proved ownership of your child. You never proved the bloodline. You know, I mean, it was like I went through something similar when I went after, trying to go after my fiance on her kids. And I nailed them, and everybody panicked going on. I said, we just do it that way. I'll just come to your house, and this is what I'm going to do. You threatened me. I said, no, I didn't. I told you what I'm going to do. I'm not threatening you. I have authority. You stole the kid. I have a right to get the property back. No, because like I said, I'm not in their system. Even medically, you know, I mean, they knew it medically. You know, because, I mean, I wouldn't sign my rights to be a human guinea pig. Most people do. I mean, I watch people sign a lot of things that when I was in the hospital, I wouldn't do it. You know, and then I got to the point where they you know, most of the people didn't want nothing to do with me after, which was fine. I mean, I'm in the hospital for a reason. I'm not here to sign your papers or play your games. There's a medical reason why I was up there, dealing with my heart, you know, and so my heart condition, that's the other point. You know, my first heart attack, 2013, that was after they put the towers up in my house, because I got the towers. And my towers they got up are 5G towers they put in 20 years ago, 18 years ago. You know, you can definitely know the tower size and the screens and stuff like that if you do the research. But shit, it was like I went after a couple of things, and I had some people in my house, and all of a sudden I had this. It was like it felt like a beam right through me would drop me to my knees. Seriously, it felt just like a beam going right through me, drop me to my knees, and that's the first time I went in for heart surgery. So, and that was interesting because the doctor said to me, oh my God, Ed, I've never done heart surgery on anybody who was 60% clogged. You're supposed to be 90%. You know, you're only 60% clogged. I can't do surgery on you. And they did. They wrote a router me. But it was like, you know, I was 60% clogged, which, you know, could have been, you know, my diet and my eating and my habits that I grew up about. And then they want to medically go after you for the way you eat food today. And it's like, shit, your parents did this because they saw it on TV. Everybody drank soda, popped, and Kool-Aid. And so how are you going to go after the parents when they didn't know any better, you know? That's the point. Until somebody really knows what they're doing, you can't go after them unless they really knew what they were doing. So when parents were giving us kids candy and all this shit through the 60s and 70s and thought it was cute and funny, we realized later on in life it's not cute and funny, and we realize now what it's done to our body, our teeth, and everything else. So, and that's the one thing. I don't recommend people giving their kids candy for whatever reason. Give them fruits. Teach them the fruit structure. Healthy structure. In that way, they'll know that they can grab an apple on an apple tree in the park. It's one thing we do have in Orton down on the coast here. Some of our trees in the city parks have apple trees and cherry trees on them. But throughout the state, they've been cutting down this stuff. But all public resources buildings used to have a lot of fruit trees. I mean, even the Capitol, Oregon State Capitol, had fruit trees going back 150 years, and they decided that they needed to remove them because they were sore. Remove the food off the Capitol so that way if somebody's hungry, they can't eat. That's the whole point. That's what they've been doing, is removing the food resources around the country for the last 20 years. Look at, most people, you never paid attention, but you had apple and cherry trees and different fruit trees all around. Depends on your area growing up. And now you don't have them like you once you did. But people really do not pay attention to these circumstances of what's going on around them. They really just don't. That is the saddest part where we're living. So, and then let me say this one so that way you get back. U.S. Code 955, practicing of law restricted. This is 995, and it goes to Section 395, 396, Title 28, U.S.C. 1940. Oh, that's right. That was the year that the Administration Act came into place. Has been extended, including to clerks, deputies, assistants, subtitles, employees, and it goes into what it really means about, the law system, the private corporation of the system. And that's one thing, is you got to realize that with your state, you got to find out who owns your state. Because your state is owned by somebody in the bar industry, the British accreditation, the King and Queen of England. So somebody in your bar actually owns the state of Oregon, because each state is a copyright patent. So, and that's the one thing, is it provides that no clerks or marshals, and if you know what I mean by marshals, that's federal marshals, deputies, assistants within the district, for which is the point, shall act as. And that means, saying you have authority when you don't have authority. And that's under 28 U.S.C. 568. Practicing law prohibited. So you can't practice law. This is the one thing, is people think, oh, I got a lawyer, they're going to protect me. You give your rights over to the lawyer, you have no rights. I got to figure out why my computer is freezing up again. Come on, get me back on a page. So, and then if anybody knows anything about Sandra Day O'Connor, she used to be a state Supreme Court judge. She made some historical decisions in this country. And that's the one thing that you got to realize. This lady made historical decisions in this country that affected all of our lives. And now it comes out that, she woke up to the bar she worked out, and I will be able to send this letter to anybody who wants. Because when she came through, Catherine Haynes is the one who certified this in Ohio. But served that Sandra Day, she came out and said, under the Lord Christ and all this stuff, like everybody's taught to be a British subject, because remember, your religion is off your Bible that is out of Department of Justice. Lord Jesus Christ, oh Lord, remember Lord. Look the word up, oh Lord. You may be surprised. You know, oh Lord does not mean oh God. So Marion O'Connor, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Ohio, came out with this letter to basically denounce half the shit she learned and half the shit she did. You know, now my computer don't blink again. But, I mean, and this is the one thing that people got to realize what's going on in this country. Because if you're not standing up, I mean, this thing that we got going right now, I've been preaching on since I've been doing this talk show, too, for the last 5, 6 years, 7 years. Grow food, collect rainwater. That's interesting. My whole computer went blue. So, but you want to collect food and collect rainwater. So, and this is the one thing, is this is where it says the subject when a bar member sees through the lies. And this was done back July 9th, 2019. You got to remember, this is when people start waking up, because these people have been living this lie and this corporation for generations. Religion, you know. Look at what happened. Oh, the natives got killed and murdered because we had to come and do a new country. So we murdered in the name of God. That's what they did. The British did that to the Indians. We got to kill you because you're savage. We don't want to live with you. We want to kill you. See, that's the point. How many people get it? I mean, you know, I get people all the time, oh, man, you don't get God. You don't get this. And I say, yeah, you're right. I don't get it. Because if God was there protecting you, why are we living in hell, technically? Because that's what we're living with all this paranoia and all this stress and all this craziness. We're living in hell. There's no difference here. See, that's the point. You don't get it. There is no difference. We're living in hell. See, all this stuff, we are physically living right now today. Your children are enslaved when they go to school. You're told if your kids don't obey, the school district's going to take your kids and take it to DHS and steal your kids. Now, when I was with my ex, I told her, hey, you're going to file this piece of paper in the school district. And everybody went to me, why would I do that? Why would I do that? And I said to her, you just do I hate to say it. You do what I tell you to do on this one. You're with me. You do what I tell you. So then when she filed the paperwork, she got a different attitude. And then when we started doing a research investigation, you know, the stuff with the school, and I started going through the files, and they started going through this. And that's one thing. You want to get a copy of your files, see what these people wrote about you. You'd be amazed when you start reading what they write about you and your family and your kids. You know, it really is that surprising. I got to come up with a damn. I don't know how the computer button on my computer got smashed. But anyhow, so you got to start putting this stuff together and bringing this stuff out, because if you don't bring it out, nobody else is going to do it. You know, and that's the one thing when it comes down to it. You know, if you don't protect your children and yourself, right now, you got to be concerned, because when you're walking around, you're going to be automatically classified as a corporation citizen with no rights, guaranteed you. You know, that's a fact. That's not a hearsay terminology. That's a real fact. You are going to be classified as a British slave because you don't own yourself. The minute you own yourself and you start getting known, then you have some rights. But until you have rights, you have privileges. So, anyhow, with that, I'm going to go ahead and we'll call it an evening. Let's go ahead and open up the floor for questions, because this computer went down on me, and I got to get back to save it because I got over too many links. I got to go save all night tonight, so that way I don't lose that.
All participants are unmuted.
So anybody got something they would like to add?
Yeah, they're actually putting out. Can you hear me, Ed?
Yeah.
It's cheap. Anyhow, they're putting out a new flyer now. If you're on some kind of medication, they're going to ask you how many pills you have, and they're going to have a head count on them. My cousin and my aunt just went through that. So something tells me there's something behind that little situation also. I forgot to mention that when we talked earlier.
Oh, no problem. See, that could lead to a lot of things, because that could be if they're going to get pain pills, or it's like with people like me that are on, because I'm literally on nitroglycerin tablets.
Yep.
That's my heart. I'm on what they call a waiting list, too. So I live on nitroglycerin.
Oh, bless you, brother.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I know this. That's why I can't bitch, because I'm still here. But when I see the crap they're pulling on people, and like I said, when I went through this stuff, 2013, when I had this first, it was strange as hell. I mean, it was like, somebody pointed something at me, and I mean, I felt it, like it hit me. And that's the first time I actually believed in the, in a sense, somewhat of that type of conspiracy theory. But, no, you're going to be checking out your medication. Also, too, when you get your medication, check out your manufacturers of where you got the medication done, and verify the manufacturer, too. I'm strongly suggesting that to people.
Well, the other ones you mentioned on the food also, and people don't understand that, what is it, like half the pork situation is now going to China and coming back. The other one was, I wanted to ask what you thought about the stimulation $1,000 checks that Trump's putting out, and if that's, there's been so many different things on that end. If I right, and a few other people have said, if you sign those checks, you might want to sign them, lawfully, because they may be trying to pay you off.
Good point. Yeah, and that's right. You have to sign them lawfully. Do not do it legally.
Yeah, autograph it. There's a difference between signing and autograph, and a lot of people don't know that. I thought you might want to brink on that. And I'm going to give the floor back over and let you roll. So. No,
you got a point on that. Because, see, that's the other point, and I appreciate you bringing that point up, because, like I said, on the medical forms, every time that they would want me to sign different medical forms, a couple medical forms, I had to do it before the doctor did the one heart surgery on me. And so I scratched out in black the signature line and the signature box. And remember, if you got a box, a signature box, erase the box, because that means they're saying that you're dead.
Yeah, people don't understand that one either. When it's black ink, it's supposed to be the dead man's hand, Mort Maine. So, but yeah, that's just it. I wanted to briefly, touch on those, because I know a lot of people out here, I don't know if they're bugging you yet, but they've already started hitting me up, and I'm like, there's a way to sign it. You need to understand these things. People are out here. I can't stress, you all need to really listen to this show on Saturday nights and a few others, and get yourself educated as fast as you can. It's just like people are asking me crazy questions now, but, you've got to stay on top of this, and it's like they don't want to do the research. They don't want to read. It's like, come on, reading's fundamental. Where did you grow up at? Come on.
Well, it's like I got a stamp that I made for me and my associate, and it's a big stamp. Right. Okay? I mean, it's a big stamp. It takes a third of a 8 by 11 page.
Oh, there you go.
It puts in all your rights, that I'm not giving up this, I'm not doing that. It's the same thing that I put on the bottom of my letters. Every time I send out my letters, I have that. My disclaimer and everything in my letter and that stuff. So that way I have a right to come back and sue you if it's not accurate. And that is the one. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then you also, I believe you have the one from Judge Dale. If you actually do the, the 9th one, if you go through that, he actually has the forms at the bottom of that you can actually set up for the meter situations, your vaccination situations that you can print out. And
not only that, I don't know if we finally got it up, but I got to find it, because it was about a year and a half ago. I found out, it was about a year and a half ago, before I ended up in the hospital last December. I found the federal pages with the federal forms on it, and the federal forms that said it has to be filled in with red ink only.
Right.
And these were federal forms. And that's what I'm saying is that when you get this, and not only that, the federal forms that I had, and I don't remember where it is, I've been trying to find it again. But with the federal form list on that, it says red ink on that, and including the boundaries of the whole letter and everything in that letter is written in red.
Well, and then the other one I wanted to mention is if you're having issues with your electronic devices, hearsay has it that they're all on skeleton crews when it comes to Google and anybody else right now because of this pandemic thing that's supposedly going on, which you know how I feel about that. That's just like, what is that old fable? The sky is falling, the sky is falling. So, everybody seems to be in a panic, and, we've all been experiencing issues with our electronic devices. So, I'm pretty sure they're probably cranking up the 5G. Mm-hmm. So, and a lot of people don't understand that, but that's actually used by the military to just curse people in crowds. So it's kind of like the easiest way to explain it is if you ever saw the movie Apocalypse Now, where he's playing the music loud from the speakers on the side of the helicopter. It's basically the vibration itself. They raise the vibration to screw up with your body. So, it's I've really been, once again, I can't thank you because I've just been delving into research left and right here. But, I wanted to put that out so people understand that if you're having stuff going on with it, it's because most of them are running a skeletal crew because of the stupid crap going on. And, like I said, I really like to know what the heck the thing is on the stimulus package stuff because, number one, presidents in the past have been duped or fooled, and I don't know if this is happening with Trump right now. Is his crew right on top of it or what's going on? Only time will tell. But not like I'll receive anything because supposedly it was only for working people. That's the one I don't think everybody caught. So
right.
But anyhow, brother, like I said, I'm gonna let the floor over and.
Oh, that's okay. But that's the whole point that they're going back on your taxes. So, and in that deal, it says in that deal, and you nailed it right on the point. Working people with taxes. So they want your Social Security number to cash the check so they can put you in the system. And the last president who did that too was Carter. Nixon did it, and oh God, what the hell is the guy? Monica Lewinsky, Clinton.
Yep.
So this has been already done before with stimulus. This is the one thing. See, when this came out, oh God, what was it, 94? You see, I mean, it was the president before that too. It was Reagan put out a stimulus package too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then when I read the stimulus package, and I really caught on to, when you register yourself with the state and you give your Social Security number and your tax ID and all this stuff, and that's when I said, what the hell am I doing? I never paid taxes for it. People were telling me this is back in the late 80s, early 80s. Real early 80s. And that stimulus package, people are saying, hey, you got to go get the money, And I'm like, what was it? President Bush did one for $150. The other one did it for $950. Carter's was for was it $400 or $500?
It was $500, and the sad part was people don't understand it. But when you do that, what they do is they double tax you. You'll get it now, but you'll end up paying double what they gave you back.
Right, you're paying. But actually, you're paying triple.
Right.
Because that's the point of the 3 books. People don't realize they actually have 3 books: incoming, outgoing, and miscellaneous.
Yep.
That's where in Congress they said, oh, we're missing $17 trillion of tax money. They just came out and said it again. They're not missing it. They know exactly where it is, but they're pocketing the money, the digit in it.
Oh, don't get me started on that because $2 trillion disappears out of this country every year and we can't account for it.
Well, we know that. Well, they just accounted for $1 trillion. What was that? Everybody keeps saying, oh, we got to support Jerusalem. And it just came out, they found $1 trillion that nobody knew that they gave to Jerusalem. And nobody knew what the money was spent for.
Well, if you want a really bizarre one, because I know you love the old Obama situation, I got downwind, and my understanding is they borrowed $21 trillion to make those sanctuary cities and destroy them in order to buy the land back up. And that's part of why they're freaking out, because they're on the hook for that $21 trillion because it came from good old Queen Lizzie. And they are in debt to her, and she is not happy because she is not getting her payments.
No, because when they said sanctioned cities by the Supreme Court came out and said it was unlawful.
Right.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Trust me, I'm well aware of this one. I am well aware of this one. Because, see, when they were going after immigration, I'm literally writing letters to the Supreme Court justices of the Ninth Circuit Court, charging them, and around the country, I've been emailing the different judges and stuff, treason charges. I'm writing criminal treason charges on them, serving it to the House and Senate of their state as well as their local media.
Well,
and I've already had a couple comments a couple months ago going, who gives you the, and I had this from one public official, says, who gives you the authority to do this? And I said, I do, because you're my servant. I'm not a citizen.
See, that's
you're
the
to
other
serve
thing.
me. I'm not to serve you.
Well, you see, that's another thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was thinking, we've been talking back and forth about we all need to get on board with that. Why should you just be the only one? Let me get, we'll figure that out in the long run, because I know you got stuff to post for everybody else out there, especially after a show. And God bless you for, may the Holy Spirit, maybe that would be the easiest way to go from that one. Because you know how we all feel about that, because I'm Native also, Navajo, partially.
Right.
So as it turns out, when you mentioned that, I was thinking about that the other night, and I forgot to ask you. I'm glad you brought it back up, but I was thinking if there's a way that we could all copy it, if we can all start hammering them with this paperwork individually, like you said, not collectively, but individually, it's going to make them shift. And that's what we need to do. And maybe we should copy what you've got going on, just modify it for personal situation.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Because, I don't know. I mean, I know what I'm putting together suits my needs, but somebody else might be able to, go through it and, even change 60% of it, and now it makes their needs work better than what they originally thought. No, absolutely. I don't have a problem with it. That's why we post a lot of stuff on the website and on the Facebook sites.
Yeah, people really need to go to that website. Seriously, there's so much information that's, this stuff takes decades to figure out. It's not something that comes overnight. The average individual starting, you need to get to your understanding that it's going to take you 2 to 3 years to fully understand these things, and at least we have the internet where we didn't have before, and we can put stuff in a nanosecond. I mean, like when Trump came out on the media, within an hour to 3 hours after he did all this, it went across the world. Well, we have that capability of not just helping people here, but helping others. Australia's going through the same thing we're going through here. Their constitutional situation is very similar to ours, and that's why all those fires were started, because the government is upset because people are waking up. And it's not just here, it's across the entire world. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to come together as...
Oh, didn't that piss them off when it turned out that it wasn't climate control and natural that started the fires? They actually caught the people that actually started the fires that were paid by the government to do it?
And ironically, they were all from the left.
I know. That's the point. It's like, I've been, I was a firefighter in California, and when I went up to firefighting training up in the Sierras and stuff for firefighting and forest firefighting, and when I saw different things, that, some people, in life don't pay attention to their surroundings. Most people just walk through life with a tunnel vision, a tunnel on their head.
Yeah, or blinders like a horse. I know what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. And see, and that's the one thing. I would never put blinders on a horse because I want him to see what's coming at him.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I put blinders on the horse, I'm the one who's going to be hurt worse than the horse.
This is a fact. This is definitely a fact. But yeah, it's just amazing that people don't understand these things. And I would think there was a little, what do I want to call that? Soros was his name? A little influence from him, maybe? Yeah, I just watched one on the video. I redid the video when it came to the border situation, and the young lady I was watching, or the one that was doing the commentary on it, She said, take a look at these people. They walked 42 miles a day in flip-flops, and they ain't got no blisters. They didn't bring no blankets. They're all playing with their cell phones. Come on, take a look what the media really does out here. Don't buy into it. Do your research. Back the stuff up. Replay it. So, once again, I'm taking up a little bit of time. Let's let somebody else jump
if
on
anybody
here.
wants to speak in, they know they can jump up. This is not a bashful conversation, so somebody go and say my turn or something like that. So, yeah, I just want to bring that up again. But no, you're right on what's going on. This is the point. If somebody would like to speak up, just say my turn. You don't have to be bashful. Go ahead.
Here's
this is Deloy in Utah. You guys knew that we had an earthquake this last week. You all heard about that, right?
Yeah, here in California, was it 4.5 magnitude?
No, we had it in Utah.
Oh, okay.
It's just a coincidence. The other guy was just talking. He said something about the 5G. Well, it was funny. An hour before that earthquake, they started the 5G at the airport. They said it was one of the biggest setups they've gotten. They started that up, and it was funny. An hour later, we had this earthquake. You think there's any connection?
Oh,
Yes,
I would say so.
I can chime
in
on that one.
Is that what HARP is about?
Yep. And then there's another reason behind it. A lot of people don't know it, but if you would look up Jesse Ventura, he actually did a video on it, and he does his conspiracy theory channel. If you look it up, he'll tell you there's an underground railroad system going on. Your earthquake may not have been an earthquake. It may have been a nuclear bomb bombing out the tunnels, because the hearsay is that Trump is trying to catch all these evil people, and that's part of what's going on. Now, whether there's truth to it or not, I'm finding out from military friends of mine that it is, and these boys are not, these are intelligent people that have left. They're joining people like myself and Ed and getting the information out because they just can't stand it. They see the evil going on, and they know it has to be stopped. And that's really kind of what's been going on. And, take a look at the California fires on top of that. How can you burn a car, but you're not burning the asphalt underneath it? I laid asphalt, okay? Tires burn at a different degree than asphalt does, okay? Yep. They will not burst into flames without that asphalt getting some kind of wavy or melting level. So, once again, let me jump out. You guys go at it. My apologies.
But anyhow, guys, go ahead and finish up the stuff on what you were talking about with Utah.
Oh, I just wanted to know. I got a call from David Strait that he said he had the information that says that 5G is probably what caused that. And so I was just wondering what you guys thought. But you never know, about anything anymore. It's like you say, everybody out there. Today we went to a meeting to talk about some of this stuff, and I went to a Maverick, which is all over here, and they kind of went in all the Mavericks and wiped everything out. I mean, you can't get anything in any of them, but they're still serving, and they got their gloves on and all this. And I guess I was there with some people there, and they were saying about the virus and stuff. And I got upset because one come up with a cup and says, "I need to get this cup filled up with the drink." "Oh no, you can't do that." And I said, "What are you guys going to do? Everything that the freaking government tells you?" And this lady says, "Oh yes, we have a great government. We should pay attention to everything they say." And boy, did I wanted to shoot her right there. I thought, "You're an idiot." But I restrained myself. But I just, it's just incredible out here. It's incredible. I mean, you just can't believe the banks are closed. You can go to a window and just and there's not a sick person in the whole county here. Well, we had one guy that's supposed to be sick, but we're in a 50,000 person. I mean, 1 out of 50,000 is probably not too bad. Now it make you wonder, but.
Well, I agree. My county is 55,000, so I have to say the same.
Well, I can chime back in on that one, too, because the coronavirus was actually studied in 2007 and 2009 right here in this country, and you can find it. But like Ed said,
I know it was the House and Senate bills, and I was at the organization House and Senate.
Well, seriously, you can look it up, and actually Bill Gates has a patent on it. So what's that?
Yeah, Bill Gates, Bloomberg, and the CIA, and some other people are all invested in it. But my concern is I don't believe that there's a virus. I believe that what we're doing is being tested to see how much we're going to follow the government. I mean, come on, toilet paper. Who in the world did use toilet paper for just a test run? But you know what? It is incredible. I went to one of the Walmart here today, and they don't even have nothing. Nothing.
No, they don't.
Nothing.
I did the same thing. 2 different stores, and they don't have bread. They don't have toilet paper. They don't have wipes. The other one let me put a little bug in your head, okay? From what I'm hearing from the military people, this is worldwide, because if you're watching all these entertainers that have been attacking Trump, all of a sudden they've all come down with the coronavirus. And this leads back to some very evil things. They have been in control of the entire world for too long. And it's time for all of us to come together with our positive energy and change this. But it's not going to be overnight. We all have to be on our P's and Q's when it comes to these laws. That's why I just cannot say enough. You need to pass this. It's like the old commercial. You tell 2 friends, they'll 2 friends. You all got to get people on these talk shows listening, because these people are putting out the information. Ed and Dave are really putting out some really good information. It doesn't take time. They post it on their website. You can go there, clickety-click, and you've got it right there in front of you. You can even print it out. The forms and stuff are there. I just bless both of you, and everybody on the show, because we're in a fight for our freedoms. And it's freedom.
You're in a fight for your life, man.
Yeah, because
your freedom is your life, but you got to realize you're in a fight for your life, and people don't. I had an interesting growing up experience, because I grew up in the rock and roll movie industry. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I grew up in Haight-Ashbury days. I grew up in all this stuff where in the 70s, they used to try to tell everybody how in California in the 60s and 70s, the street gangs and the Black Panthers were so bad from Oakland. I grew up with these people, literally. And so when people try to say a lot of this crap, it's like, you don't realize so long as you didn't screw with the next man's turf or the next man's woman, you didn't get screwed with.
Well, and then take a look at Kent State back in the day. People don't understand. If they killed college people back then, and what happened to all those, rebels or whatever you want to call them that were on top of the government back then? Where did they go? We have to stand up just like they did.
Most of them ended up writing their own books and becoming multimillionaires, and they didn't give a shit after that.
Yeah, they bought
into
the system.
Anyhow, somebody else said, excuse me, there was somebody else that spoke up, so let's get that individual a chance. Go ahead.
That was me, actually.
Oh, that was you? Sorry, producer, go ahead.
I'm just coming up with an idea here. It's something I thought about. How they are testing for the coronavirus is they stick up a swab up your nose and get basically material up there. Not only is it whatever mucus is there, but it also holds genetic code in there. Therefore, they're also doing, when you're doing the coronavirus test, they may be also doing genetic testing. You're doing the whole bloodline.
They are.
Okay, just wanted to bring that up.
Oh, no, you're right on the path of that one, because I've been preaching about that, and I brought that up when oh, God, what the hell, I forgot whose bill was that. Susan, what's her name? She ended up being a federal representative. I can't remember her last name right off. But, no, it is true, because that's the one thing. They're going in because, see, if they're able to draw your blood, and you don't, when you go into the hospital, they want you to sign this piece of paper for you to, basically give your DNA over, because they took your blood, so that way they can own you. This is the other way they're sneaking up how to own you without you knowing the contract. Because I was in there, and they kept on wanting me to sign this, and I said, well, I'm writing under duress, and I'm holding you liable. And then I got to the point where, I've been in and out of the hospital for the last 14 months, So, I spent 5 months, 5.5, 6 months literally in the hospital, life support, heart machines, everything. So what gets to me is they kept on coming in and trying to have me sign these papers, and they wanted to claim my body. Basically, when you actually comprehend it, read between the lines. That's the saddest people can't read between lines. But reading between the lines, so every time they would come up and they wanted to draw blood for me, they wanted me to sign a piece of paper so they could own my DNA. You go get blood, claim. Go ahead.
There's a good one on that. It's called Invisible Contracts. If you look it up and read it.
Oh, yeah.
That really will clue you in as to what they'll do, like with any kind of license, your attachment to the Social Security card, the birth certificate, everything.
Oh, let me tell you, they freaked out because when cause everybody kept on saying, your Social Security number, the government owes you. Well, if you go back to the original structure of Social Security, all right, original Social Security was done sort of like workman's comp. It was the old bounty booty structure from the military. So it comes up that you get 1/3 of 1% of whatever the bounty of what was taken in that war.
Yep.
And it still works today. That's what we're doing still today in a sense. So when it comes down to it, when it came to Social Security, people saying Social Security card, they own you. They own you. And you can't do this because they own you. And I said, no. No, by Social Security law, because I was born in the area before 1985. So you got to learn the contracts and the years, how these things are manipulated. And when you were born, you got a new contract. You didn't go by the original contract. So when I was born, I went through the original contract of the original historical stuff before they started changing administrative rules after 1972 with, what was his name, Nixon.
Yep.
So when I had my contract with that, when my mommy filed for my Social Security number, I got my Social Security number, well, they put me in the system without my knowledge. So that's why I have identity theft. I claim my body, I claim my structure, and people are freaking out on me going, and I've had medical personnel going, I can't do that treatment on you because you're filed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that's all they would say, and they leave the room.
Well, the one that I want to make a little comparison to, take a look at the Jolly Roger and then take a look at the Skulls and Bones and see if you don't see
Well, look at the Australian flag and look at the British flag.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at the Scottish flag in Ireland.
How about the one in Hawaii?
I won't forget that one. Obama, yeah. I put out a nice piece on Obama on that one.
Oh, they're coming out with a lot of good stuff on him right now. It's amazing. Yeah. I think they've listened a little bit from you, and it's just like I said, it's well,
I put out that one hell of a letter, and I served it to the entire state of Oregon and the House and Senate when I wrote the deal. This was Judge Scalia was assassinated in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And that's when I wrote the immigration structure of law, because the immigration structure of law, because it goes back to the natives, that we are allowed natives, if we don't like somebody in our country, we can ship them out by the treaties.
Yeah.
And people go, well, how do you know this, Ed? And I'm going, and I send them the actual historical documents. I filed this stuff. That's why my house kept on getting robbed and shit. I'm in ICU last August, and they steal almost all my files out of my house. They even stole my baby book and my stuff I had as a child, in my childhood.
Well, the other
when I got home, I was told by my neighbors, the police department was all over your house and in your house. And I'm like, what the fuck? I was in ICU. And I said, would anybody sign a statement? The first words out of everybody, no way, we ain't losing our home, and we ain't going to be homeless for you.
Well, and that's the other one. I'm wondering if they didn't mess with your computer, because you mentioned that you had troubles with that one button. The other one is, if you actually look up Scalia, there's an actual floor situation where he's talking on the House to the whole entire governmental body there, and they go back and forth about Article 1 and Article 3. And Scalia kind of laughs and he says, well, if it's repugnant to the Constitution, we just don't deal with it the way you guys do in the states. We just ignore it. So that right there shows you that codes and statutes are not law. They're legalese. And that's what people really need to get through their heads. There's a big difference between lawful and legal. And
that's what I say. They wrote it, we quote it, because that's the one thing. When you are a public servant, you give up your rights, and they say as a citizen, and they really mean of the real citizen going back to the 1700s, not the citizen of the 1867 of the Civil War Act. Yeah. And people, if you have never read the Civil War Act, please read the real Civil War Act. You'll be amazed at the ceasefiring and what they wrote in that ceasefire.
Yes, you will. Okay.
You know, but they
Anybody
couldn't defer the native rights out of it because everything, every state contract, I'll turn the floor back over to the guy who spoke up here in a minute, but every single contract in this state has been with the Spanish and the British government, and that includes with contracts with other nations and foreigners on this soil. So those contracts are invalid because they were not done by the forefathers of the native soil. These are foreigners that came into, it's like when I say to people going with immigration, they come in and put a stick in the ground and says, I can fly my flag now, I own you. And it's like, no. You don't have a right to put a stick in this ground and say that you're the king of my house. I own my soil, so I'm the owner, not you. You don't come in. And that's one of the bills that Obama put in office, how they could come in and take your land, the Muslims to take your land. And that is a true bill Obama got through in the House and Senate. Go ahead. Somebody else is going to speak up.
If I may?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was
going
to mention that earthquake that they had in Utah. According to what I read about the DUMS, the Deep Underground Military Bases, they're based at Kennecott in the Utah area. And that was the epicenter. That was the epicenter of the earthquake. Was Magna, Utah, right where that underground base is supposed to be. That's it. I yield.
All right. Well, I got to testify to that one because I've been throughout the state of California and the state of Oregon, and I know that they. Let's just put it this way. They have underground bunkers in the government that they can survive for 2 years with food and water, and some of them even have natural structures. As long as they're able to keep air pumping in and fresh water, they can be indefinite. This is real today. They got these things. New Mexico has one that's 3 miles below the earth, and that's below the airport. That's in Colorado, too. That's in the mountainside below the airport. So some of these things that they say is out there, conspiracy theories, some of these things ain't conspiracy. I've actually seen some of this stuff with my own eyes in my travels. So, and I've been fortunate because I've been blessed because of the position I was at or whatever circumstances, but I was able to see things that most people didn't see. I've been back in the 80s, man, when I started getting into running my security company and doing the stuff I was actually getting so deeply involved in. You know, I mean, I go downtown San Francisco, and there's 5 areas that I remember down there that you go down in these underground, basically, bunkers, and then back this was already done. They had TV cameras throughout the city of San Francisco on the poles that, you know, you look up at the deal and you see this glowing light, but, you know, everybody just thought it was just a light, and it was actually a monitor monitoring the city. Yeah, they had that technology back in the 1980s. So, I wrote a lot of security plans back then. I thought I was writing stuff to do things for the people. Then I found out I was writing it and it was turned around in the wrong reasons. You know, a couple things I should have been a multi-million-dollar millionaire out of, but I got screwed when I found out the truth. I couldn't keep my mouth shut. If I would have kept my mouth shut, I would have been living in some foreign island. But I had a conscience, so that's not a problem. That's just the way the Creator made me. So we got, like I said, we got to protect the food, water, and resources, and make sure that you raise your kids and teach them to get their hands dirty. Do not teach them to be afraid of dirt, soil, and mechanics and stuff. You know, it really disturbs me. You know, watch the women, some of the women today, not all. You know, oh, the kids can't do that. Oh, you know, the kids are above that. But you know, shit, I picked beans before myself in gardens, so you know. I'm still trying to get the rest of the wood because I like to get my garden finished in the back of my house. So, but anyhow, the floor is open. Anybody else? Nobody else would like to jump in? Well, we'll keep the floor open, and we can talk after the show, seeing that nobody wants to speak up at this point. I like to say with the Creator, and don't forget the Great Spirit and Mother Earth. Without that, you don't eat. Without the Creator, none of us exist. Some people say, well, God is creator, same difference. And I'm going, no, I don't like using the word God because that's coming down to a Lord. And so when you're saying the Lord has more authority over me, you're calling me a peasant. See, I relate things to the British reality of the way it's brought to us. You know, with the way I've looked at it, the way it's been brought to us, I've been in the public employee situation experience. I've been raised around the Roman Catholic Church. You know, I mean, I'm stepping out of the box and taking a serious look about how these things are done. And so in religion, they got to keep you controlled. And that's what a Lord is. Look at the definition of a Lord in the dictionary. Actually, look at the definition realistically in the Bible, what Lord says. It's the same as the British dictionary. So that's where I come up when people say, Ed, and I'm like, well, I come up with this stuff because I read the books, I read this information, and I post the information. I'll even quote these other famous people's their own quotes in the papers or in my writings with their quotes, and then I put the explanation right by it with the words in the dictionaries and stuff, and here's the meaning. And I've had people come back to me and say, well, that's not the meaning. I'm going, go prove me wrong. You know, that's the point, is that if we're supposed to be honest people, we're supposed to be honest. We can't sit there and play the games that they're doing right now. I mean, because you can imagine how many people are going to be scamming each other right now, especially what's going on in the streets. And anybody grew up in the streets, which like I did, shit, you can't imagine what is going on in the deep cities and the streets and behind the alleys going on right now with the people panicking. Trust me, those people are panicking. Who's got sniffles? Who's coughing? Who's in the alley, you know, passing gas or so? I mean, trust me, paranoia is going through on the low level on the streets right now. You know, have you never been on the streets? You don't know what I'm talking about. But if you've been there, you're going to see a lot more coming up here in the next month. Because when you're only allowed so much food and you have to be on top of getting to the store to get those shipments in, and that's what it's going to be, first come, first serve, that's the reality we are living right now. So anyhow, with that, take care of yourself, you know, help out your friends and neighbors, but make sure you don't get taken advantage of, and most of all, pass the education along, because if you're not collecting rainwater, growing food, you're not doing anything. So with that, we'll say have a good evening and travel safe, and we'll see you next Saturday.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to Disclaimers by Ed Johnston. It is Saturday, March 21st, 2020. And I'm going to say, in parting here, that honestly, guys, this can go either way. It could be just something to try to figure out how the populace is going to respond, or this could be a virus that they originally planned something like that, and it infected so many that it actually mutated, and now it is a huge health problem because each time a virus mutates, it actually becomes stronger, and they have to figure out a new way to deal with it. And it can mutate between one person and the next. And if there's thousands, that's a potential 1,000 mutations right there. So think about it, guys. Be safe. Be careful. Follow proper hygiene, as in wash your hands, take regular baths if you can, eat reasonable, and don't go to Baby Burgers. I mean McDonald's. I mean, you get what I mean. Don't eat at fast food.
Don't eat human meat that's in some of your fast food production.
Exactly. Basically, try to eat something that you know what's in it. There's been lots of horror stories about these fast food restaurants, and most people ignore them because they're so complacent, saying, oh, well, not at my store, when, in all honesty, it's throughout the whole damn chain. So try to figure out, what do you really need to eat to survive? Do you need that 5-star restaurant, or do you need to just go home, break a few noodles apart, put them in boil, and get some spaghetti sauce? There, you got spaghetti, and it's tasty. I mean, there's lots to do there, guys. It may take a little time, but in the end, that little bit of time, the few minutes you took, could add a few days or years to your life. Just think about that. So with that, guys,
Mhm.
we'll see you next week unless Ed cancels. And if he does,
I'm not canceling.
if he does, that means he's kicked the bucket. And then
No, would you quit trying to throw me out to the wolves already?
No, I would never throw you out to the wolves. I do not consider wolves bad, so I would not treat them that horribly.
Oh, thanks a lot.
But with that, guys, honestly, just try to take care of yourself. Take care of those you care for, if they're willing to be taken care of. There is so many sheep out there, or sheeple, that you can't help them.
Mhm.
So take care of your bloodline. And I gotta go take care of mine. So y'all have fun.